how can we strengthen the Nordic collaboration and resilience? How can we work together to avoid a fossil lock-in agenda? And I would like to present Beathe Tvinnereim, Minister of International Development. So please, Beathe.
Hi, I'm Beathe Tvinnereim, Minister of International Development and also Minister for Cooperation in Norway. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks for inviting me, Nina.
Very, very good. And we have some questions for you. And I just wonder, how can we mitigate the geopolitical risks by increased Nordic cooperation?
Great question. First of all, we have to recognize that the world really has become less safe. Less safe and less secure for a large proportion of the inhabitants, not only here in Europe due to the illegal war on Ukraine, but for the vast population, global population. And as Minister of International Development, I'm very concerned, and I follow very closely also what is happening, for example, on the African continent, in the aftermath of what is happening in the Ukraine, because we see that the food security is becoming a huge problem due to abruption of trades and production difficulties with the production in Russia and Ukraine and the exports. You all know the story. Now, what we see globally is that the war in Ukraine is considered slightly different if you see it from the African continent than from up here in the north. So that is one point. I'm worried about the global trust and the way we have been able to cooperate on the multilateral arena. And that is where the Nordic voice is very important, because we have a very common way of looking at, we have some common values in terms of being small countries in the world in need of an organized global arena and a functioning multilateralism. So the way that we are able to have a common Nordic voice on the global arena is really important. And I think it's becoming increased important because we share some values in terms of international rule of law, democracy, openness, transparency, human rights. And at least from my job, I see that there's a huge value in cooperating closely. And, we talk, the Nordic ministers talk almost every day in some respect or another. One example, currently Norway is in the Security Council of the UN. Of course, it has been a very challenging but important position now due to the war. We have sort of a deal in the Nordic countries where we help each other on a rotating basis to get that position in the Security Council. So the Swedish helped the Norwegians when it was our turn, and now we are helping the Danes. So we really have a close cooperation. So maybe on the normative side, I think the Nordic voice is very, very important.
Thank you for the international outreach, and therefore we can see what's happening globally as well. So how can we accelerate climate transformation through increased Nordic cooperation?
Well, I'd like to start with we have some great ambition in the Nordic countries. Norway is currently chairing we have the chairmanship in the Nordic Ministerial Council. And the vision in the Nordic cooperation is that by 2030, we are to become the most sustainable and the most integrated region in the world. Now, that's a huge ambition, but to be frank, I think it's absolutely within reach. And I feel that there's a big push, both politically in the Nordics now, but also from private sector in order to collaborate more closely on pushing the green solutions. And I mentioned our common values, you know, the values and norms that we share in the Nordic countries. I believe that if we are to achieve a true green transformation, the transformation must be inclusive and fair. And, you know, in the Nordic countries, we have a tradition of inclusive and universal welfare systems. And we can use our Nordic model to build the green transition in a way that includes everyone. And I think that's the only way to go ahead. Because if people are left out, if people, you know, ordinary people feel that they are losing through the green transition, they are less money in their pockets, losing their jobs, then we are bound to fail. So I you know, the intake that we have from the Nordic is really, really important. And obviously, we have some technologies that the world needs. From the Norwegian side, you know, we try to push the hydrogen, the offshore wind, CCS, battery, forest industry, green shipping. And I believe that there are some low-hanging fruits if we are able to collaborate more closely on our natural on how we process our natural resources, and also get that technology out to the world. And again, as Minister of International Development, that's something I work with every day. I see that there is a huge need especially in less developed countries, for the technologies that we have on renewable energies. But we can achieve more if we collaborate within the Nordic countries.
So having this geopolitical crisis right now, how can business think? How can business climate transformation be strengthened by increased Nordic cooperation?
Well, you know, politics and business need to complement each other. I mentioned some of the opportunities just now. We agree that there are many of them. And we also know, well, you know, the pandemic showed us how important Nordic cooperation is. And that if the mobility across the borders is distracted, we lose out, both economically and socially. And so I think we have learned the hard way that we need to strengthen the mobility and the cross-border collaboration also on the green transformation. And I think that the study that the Haga initiative produced was really interesting, because it also put the finger on what businesses need from politics. And it's really important that we learn from you how we can improve the Nordic collaboration. You know, we have processes going on in terms of, well, in Norwegian it's called Grensehinderrådet. It's actually a collaboration with participants from all Nordic countries, looking at concrete initiatives on how to facilitate the mobility. It might be in terms of IT, you know, digital communication, in terms of tax rules, physical infrastructure. And we need your advice on concrete initiatives that can increase mobility across borders, and making sure that we join efforts, because I truly believe that the Nordic region can become the most sustainable region and the most integrated region by 2030. We have that potential, but there are some low-hanging fruits that we need to harvest in order to get there.
Thank you so much, Anne, Beathe, for joining us and for giving your perspectives on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So